What's up, PTB Nation? Welcome to episode 64 of Parking the Bus. It's the final night. Yeah, here we are, the end of Euro 2020. What a final! Could anybody tell me they didn't enjoy this tournament? Was this not the best tournament that you have probably watched from start to finish in a long time? For me, it was. I mean, this tournament delivered every single day. Okay, special hello to everybody watching right now on Periscope, on www.parkingthebusmedia.com, and also on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, go right down there, hit the subscribe button, and hit the little bell next to it so that you are alerted every time I go live. At Fade My Plays will be here a little bit later on. He will be joining us shortly to continue to break down this tournament, the final night. Here we are. We're going to talk about the final. It's England versus Italy. It was the two best teams of this tournament. I don't think anybody can dispute that. These were the two top teams that these two teams from start to finish gave us the best show of this tournament and gave us the best, just the best performances. Gareth Southgate, I'm sure, will be a big talking point tonight. He's again a big part of what's going on, and I have a lot of criticisms to make of the way he managed the match today. I'm not taking away what he's done in the past, what he's done to get them here, but I just spent a good 2 hours listening to Talk Sport, okay? Listening to the English radio feed, listening to their fans call in their radio shows and talk about what's going on, talk about what they thought about this match versus what I think as an American here, a Portuguese American living here in the United States whose focus was on Portugal in this tournament, but who watches the rest of it as a neutral. A lot of their callers were making the same criticisms and they had the same opinions I had, not just today, but throughout this whole tournament in regard to England, okay? A lot of them made the same exact complaints I made. And you know what the Talk Sport hosts did to every single caller? They gaslit them. They completely gaslit them by saying, well, if you're gonna critique Gareth Southgate today, what'd you think about how he managed the Germany match? You know what? It's one match at a time. Okay, it is one match at a time. Fade My Play is in the house. He just pulled in. Let's bring him on, and let's see how things went over at his house today.
What's going on?
What's up? How's it going, man? How's it going over there?
It's going pretty well. An absolutely ridiculous final today. It definitely had a lot of twists and turns. I was pretty shocked to see the way that it went.
You know, it's funny. I kind of predicted it before the match. I watched it at my wife's family's house, at her parents' house. They're having their usual Italian Sunday big dinner, right, that they have at 1 p.m. because it takes the rest of the day to digest it. But, what do you think? And I said Italy's going to win in penalties. I had a feeling. I just said England, if it gets there, is not going to be able to handle the moment. Yeah. And I think that's what happened. I think Southgate kind of outcoached himself a little bit in bringing on cold players to take penalties.
That's crazy.
Now, had they scored and had they won, I'd be sitting here saying, what a brilliant play. But the truth is, they weren't ready for that moment.
I mean, that's just such a bold thing to do when it's not just like you're bringing on, these players for one game, but you have left them out of every game of this tournament so far. They have had 0 minutes. I mean, I think combined they have under 10 minutes total on the pitch. And both times they went in, it was as, a substitute to waste some time. I think Rashford got a few extra minutes, but they haven't played at all, haven't played at 0 minutes in the knockout stages. Right. And then you ask them to come on and 3 minutes later take the biggest kicks of their lives. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, Marcus Rashford is a fantastic penalty taker, one of the best. The only reason he's not doing it is because, United have Bruno Fernandes. Yeah. But he is a fantastic penalty taker. But even him, to say you're not playing at all and the first touch you had of this game is a PK, right. And you saw, he sent him the wrong way. I hate that stutter step because I get, this horrific flashback of Ronaldo in 2008. But it's just, I couldn't
Remember
believe.
Simone Zaza
Oh
for
yeah,
Italy last tournament? It took about 20 minutes to get to the ball before
yeah,
sailing it. Yeah.
and it's like, again, if you're going to do that, put them in a few minutes to let them run around the pitch and
Yeah.
touch the ball and just kind
Yeah.
of settle their nerves. But you literally
Exactly.
said, "Hey, you nervous? Good. Now go take this
He
penalty."
almost didn't get him in.
Yeah,
If Italy didn't push and try to enforce a cross, which led to a corner, he might not even have gotten him in.
no,
So I don't know
and
what,
yeah, and what's even worse, and we talked about this with the France game, is that you kind of, as a manager, don't get me wrong, like players volunteer to take penalties and players say, they want to and they're good at it.
Yeah.
Marcus Rashford, Jadon Sancho, like I trust them to take penalties.
Mhm.
And like, yeah, they missed it and that sucks. And I wanted England to win. And my wife and her whole family wanted
Of
England
course.
to win. But really, like, oh well, it happens. But just like with the France match, Mbappe had a terrible tournament and a terrible game.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're going to put the weight of this whole game on him with being your anchor. And same today, Saka didn't have a bad game,
Yeah,
but
that's
he
a
was the
tough
60th
spot.
minute substitute, and he
Yep.
is the youngest English
Yeah.
player in like 15 years. This is his first tournament playing with England, and you're going to leave it to him to save your day
Yeah.
at 17 years old? I mean, that's just unfair. That's like, it's just not right. And especially when you have, like, I understand you want to start with a bang, Harry Kane, fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
But like, put Harry Kane at your anchor and put Harry Maguire as your first one, because he
Yeah.
absolutely, I mean, talk about a penalty.
I think he
Jesus
broke the
Christ.
camera. That was
Yeah, I mean,
that was
but
behind the goal. It went through.
I was flabbergasted that you would allow a 17-year-old kid playing for England for the first time on the biggest stage to be your anchor. Like, even if it was tied, even if it wasn't the match on the line, that's just bananas to me. So again, I blame Southgate entirely. I'm sure we'll talk about the game as a whole, but when it came down to the penalties, Rashford outthought himself. Sancho took a bad penalty and Saka took a bad penalty. I mean, it's just, and what's funny is, in terms of betting, today was my Prop-a-palooza. I had 20 different prop bets today. And one of the ones that I hit was Donnarumma to get man of the match, because my whole thinking was, if this goes to penalties, he's saving a couple.
He sure makes that net really small. When you get that view from behind the shooter, he really makes that small.
And shout out to Jordan Pickford, because I think he is a terrible goalkeeper.
But he did his job.
He did what he needed to do.
He made 2 saves. You can't put it on him.
He had a couple good saves in the game as well. But I was shocked that he saved a penalty and he saved 2. Like, that's impressive from him. Shout out to him, because I think he sucks, but he proved me wrong in that moment. But he also was at fault for the goal, so whatever.
All right. I know your time's limited today, but I've been saving this cold one for the last night of the tournament. So cheers to you.
Forza.
So I'm going to let you go ahead and have the floor, because your time is limited. What do you think about the England lineup? Let's start there.
I couldn't believe that he went 5 at the back. Okay. I thought that was a bold move to suddenly change your lineup like into a way you haven't played yet, like that. And it seemed to work out because, and this comes back to my Prop-a-palooza, I love Luke Shaw. I think he's been the best player for England in this tournament, him and maybe Harry Maguire.
Yeah.
But Trippier offers so much pace as well. Like Shaw on the left, Trippier is on the right. And that opening goal was just Trippier breaking, Shaw being available, and an unbelievable, I mean, talk about a first-time touch.
Oh, perfect.
Volley. Brilliant from Shaw. But, like in that first couple of minutes, I was like, wow, like England is coming out strong. He's using these wing backs in order to create pace along the wings, which we've talked about. That's how England should be playing, with pace on the wings, but it shouldn't be your fullbacks. It should be wingers like Jadon Sancho and Marcus Rashford and, Sterling and all that. But then it felt like after 15 minutes, once Italy settled down and once they, kind of realized, okay, we're behind, let's, lock it up. I mean, you'd be hard pressed to say that Italy was not the better side for 75 minutes. Yeah. I mean, it always looked like they were going to score. When it happened, it was a very cheap goal to give away, but at the same time, again, Prop-a-palooza, my goal scorer prop, one of them was Bonucci, plus
there you go.
One
of the OGs in there.
Yeah, well, I mean, my whole thinking was he'll get to a free kick or a corner, and sure enough,
be on the end of it, right?
Yeah, I mean, you just felt that pressure, because there was, and I was tweeting this out, Harry Kane did not have a single shot, not shot on goal, not a single shot until his penalty. Harry Kane spent more time in the center circle than in the opposing box.
Well, he gets a lot of credit on that first goal. He dropped really deep, and this was interesting because I caught this time live. Whereas it's almost what happened to Portugal against Belgium. Italy pressed high. Chiesa stepped. What happened was Barella didn't follow, and he didn't pick up that channel there where Harry Kane stepped into. Harry Kane was allowed to turn, and once he was allowed to turn, he made a nice easy switch to the other side of the pitch to Kieran Trippier, like you said, who delivered a perfect ball to Luke Shaw. Luke Shaw gave the ball to Harry Kane and took off. It almost seemed like this was something they put in training, that they said we're gonna do this, because they got all of Italy shifting right.
Yeah.
Right. They drew everybody to Italy's left, to England's right side of the pitch. And then they sent the diagonal cross to the far post where everybody left.
Well,
where
and
Luke
you
Shaw
had,
is coming in.
You know, and I know I love to hate on him, but you also had Sterling pushing into the center of the box.
Right.
So again, drawing defenders.
Right.
And I understand that Harry Kane played a part in that goal, but Harry Kane is the most prolific English striker in the game right now. Not of all time, obviously, but right now.
Right now,
and
sure.
What he's good at is hold up play near the box and powerful shots from 20 yards or closer. And 90% of the game, he was nowhere near the box. And
he wasn't.
That is just like a recipe for no success, because you're asking Harry Kane, like there were a couple of moments, and again, you know, I was shouting about this, where Harry Kane picks up the ball at the halfway line.
Yeah,
there's already 6 Italian defenders back.
Yeah.
So he gives the ball to Sterling, or he gives the ball to Saka when he subbed on, or whoever, and they're driving forward, and Harry Kane's not even in the box.
Yeah.
So it's like, what? So you have Sterling drive down that left wing and cross it into who? You know, like it's just wild. And you'd see Calvin Phillips so far up the pitch, and it's like, what the fuck is going on? Why is Calvin Phillips ahead of Harry Kane?
It looks like in the system they play, I don't think Kane likes being completely alone up front, and he drops.
It's what works. I mean, look at Tottenham. Jesus.
Right. But at least in this group, it doesn't look like there's something he's not getting. So he's dropping. And I think what you're seeing is one of the double holding or the double pivots in midfield, like, hey, look at all that space up there. I'll go take Harry's spot.
Yeah.
And, you know, sometimes they're getting picked up, sometimes they're not. But I also think it's got to be a systematic issue with Harry Kane in this England team right now.
Well, it's interesting.
Like you said, he's not getting anything in and around the box.
But you bring up an interesting point, because I agree with you. I think that's how he played. But he played today as a number 10.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
it like that's
he is a true. I mean, he is a true number 9.
Right,
like, unbelievable. But you know what? England has a number 10. In Jack Grealish.
Exactly.
And that is what he is best at. And yet they refuse to do that. And when they do put him in, you know, they put him in on that left side, like, you know, how West Ham plays him. And it's just like, again, it comes back to that whole, I don't understand what they're doing when they have like, hey, here's this clear footprint for all the players to play at their strengths, but you're not doing it. And it worked really well until the 15th minute when Italy took over the game. And there was the last, I remember I tweeted out the exact amount, but there was the last 20 minutes or 18 minutes. Of those 18 minutes, 12 of those, the entire English 11 was in their own half. Like, you are playing for a draw. You are playing to defend. There's zero threat going forward. And my God, did Sterling have an underwhelming game? I mean, it just,
I don't know why he stayed on. Why does he stay on so long? I mean, you know, and he spent more time on the ground than he did on his feet in this one. I mean,
and the referee, you could tell that he was waving, because there were a few things that I was like, wow, that's a foul, but he was letting it go because he's like, I'm tired of you diving.
Yeah, like, it really was apparent today when nothing else was going his way.
Although I will say the biggest, like, England wouldn't, well, who knows, because we can't say. But I'm not saying England would have won, but obviously England did not want this to go to penalties. Granted, they did not act like that in extra time. In extra time, it looked like they were playing for penalties. But I am not I'm a let them play type of guy. But Chiellini should have been sent off for that horse collar.
That was crazy.
Believe that.
They didn't need, you know.
I cannot believe that, Mike.
The only thing
unbelievable.
The only thing that I think would have saved him had it gone to VAR was it looked like the ball would have hit Saka's arm first, which would have negated the foul.
I mean, but that's violent conduct against
that was and he knew he had to take him down, but by the collar. I mean,
and he ripped him down.
He ripped him down, yeah. But they didn't. It
was violent in a way that I was like, I mean, if you did that in an American football game, you might get caught.
Yeah, right.
At the very least, it's unnecessary roughness and a 15-yard penalty.
Right.
And Chiellini gets a yellow. If he gets a red there, then England are up a man for the entirety of extra time.
Yeah, and I think that because that was right at the end of the 90 minutes, and I think his reputation saved him.
Oh, 100%.
Because if he was somebody else, yes. If he was somebody else that had done that, it probably would have been red. But he's been such a gentleman of the game in his career. But yeah, that was a brutal foul.
I couldn't believe, like, watching it real time. I was like, straight red.
And it was the only thing he could do. If you watch it, he could not have wrapped his arms around him to hold him up. He couldn't have tripped him. There was no other way he was going to catch him because Saka was gone. Yeah. So he grabbed a hold and he got a hold of the collar and he ripped him down. And he may have expected to go off for that, to be honest.
Okay, so it's interesting you say that because that's what I was going to say next. I think he expected to go off.
I think so.
As soon as he ripped him down, he went like this and he's like, I know, shit. Yeah. But I was just, when I saw that, I could not believe my eyes that I watched, because that to me is like, because the ball was going out of play, so even Saka would have gotten away, but the ball was going out of play. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's like on that level of the Zidane headbutt and, the Suarez bite, in the sense that this is something that is not affecting the run of play. Right. It is just a violent act. Mm-hmm. And like, I'm not saying like Chiellini, like he's, like you said, a gentleman of the game. I'm not saying he was trying to hurt him.
No, he was just the only way he could stop him.
The way it went down, I was,
at the very least, it's a very professional foul, which I still think, he made no attempt to do anything but grab him by the collar. Yeah. So I don't disagree with that.
That I think was a point for me that was like, wow, like now I kind of think the momentum is swinging in England's direction, or Italy's direction, because that to me should have been a red, and then England's up for 30 minutes, but again, a great soccer handicapper, sport handicapper, who does the Soccer Gambling podcast. He was tweeting out like Southgate brings on the fastest players on the pitch for penalties,
right?
But doesn't have them trying to run at this old ass Italy defense.
They didn't do that enough.
That is exactly correct, and that's what I don't understand is that you have these things at your disposal. Nothing's working. Italy's been on top of you the entire game since you scored. And then in extra time, you don't bring them on. And instead you bring on Jordan fucking Henderson.
What a waste of a substitution that was.
I mean, and also
you can pull him out again.
His penalty conversion rate is like near 60%. That's insane. That's so bad.
That game was not calling for Jordan Henderson in any way.
It needed pace. It needed life. And I genuinely think, and I said this is not Sancho or Rashford or Saka's fault. Yeah. This is 100% on Gareth Southgate being a fucking pussy and not wanting to go for a win. As soon as they got that goal, they played for a draw.
That was the problem. They scored in the second minute and sat back for the rest of the match for the most part.
I mean, I was hoping that it would go into halftime 1-1 so that England would have to play because they're the better team. Like, this is what kills me, is that as an American, I root for Team USA in the World Cup, but I love the English team because I love the Premier League. It's the best league in the world. It's my favorite sport. But they are the best team with the best talent, but also the best chemistry among that talent. And they refuse to do anything to benefit that. Like back in the 90s, back in the early 2000s, the problem with the English team was that you had the best players in the world, arguably, but they all hated each other because the way football used to be, the rivalries were so intense. Now that doesn't exist. So they're all cool with each other, but you're playing a style that doesn't suit any of the players on your team. I mean, look at fucking Harry Maguire. He can score goals and he's your best defender.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you have a team that is screaming for offense, that's screaming for an attacking style. And you score a goal in the second minute after 90 seconds. And for the next 88 minutes and 30 seconds, you sit 11 men behind the ball. No wonder you lost. Like, shame on you.
It's not, I was, before you got on, I was saying I was listening to Talk Sport for about 2 hours before coming on here. I just wanted to hear what their callers was, their fans, the people like us, but that are the England supporters, were saying. And the hosts continued to just gaslight every legitimate criticism a fan made. They just defended Southgate, defended every player that Southgate relied on, defended Sterling, defended, Jordan Pickford. It was just, there was not any room for criticism on their side. And it's like, just because you got to the fine that, we've said Southgate is batting 1,000. So who are we to criticize? Well, today he didn't bat 1,000. It's fair criticism. Just because it worked yesterday doesn't mean that's the approach to take into today's match.
What's even crazier, though, is it worked yesterday, but then you changed it to something you have not done in this tournament, which is crazy. Like, the biggest pussy says, I'm going to just play super defensive and trust that the fact that we have better talent up front on our easy ass run. I mean, the easiest road to the final, and they're going to score one goal and then we're going to sit on it, which they did all tournament. And it's like, fine. All right. That's the way you want to play. Then play it that way. Then you change that for the final, but instead of going more attacking, which you probably should, you decide you're going to be more defensive and trust your wing backs to give you offense. And at first, it looked for a second like, wow, what a genius. You did it. But when you do that and then you play for the 1-0 win, the problem is that you're exposed at every turn because every one of your players, like, Italy didn't ever have to worry about a counterattack. Not one time. Not one time was there an English counterattack.
No,
which is
because they had the lead. Because they had the lead, they didn't risk anything going forward. I mean, but then when they needed a goal, you can't just flip the switch and change the way you've been playing for an hour.
I mean, and this is like, okay, so I am a Manchester United fan, and obviously one of the most famous chants is attack, attack, attack. But look at Chelsea and Tuchel ball, which is just sit back, play amazing defense. We win with clean sheets. Fine. I don't like that style of play, but obviously it works.
It's one way to win, yeah.
However, even though he can't put a fucking ball in the net to save his life, Timo Werner is always at least at the halfway line to offer some sort of outlet, to offer some sort of break if another team gets too cocky about it. Today, Harry Kane, Raheem Sterling, Saka, everybody was behind the ball. And Italy, the only person they had back was Chiellini, and he was at the halfway line. Are you kidding me? He's 38 years old. He's not catching anybody. You're not going to give anybody an outlet. Like, it's wild to me that you have the four fastest players in the tournament, and you choose not to use them.
Yeah.
And Harry Kane is playing a 10 when he could be a 9. I mean,
no doubt.
Harry Maguire had more shots than Harry Kane today.
Yeah, that's something.
John Stones, Calvin Phillips all had more shots than Harry Kane.
I was going to say, what's really crazy? Spain was more vertical against Italy than England was.
I mean,
in the semifinals.
Spain gave them the blueprint. Spain said, hey, here's how you beat Italy. And I think England are lucky that they were even given the chance to go to extra time, because in reality, that first Chiesa chance where he shoots, it deflects off a player, and then I believe it's Insigne, drives down the line on the deflection and shoots it, right at Pickford, but still it had a lot of pace. Pickford saves it. Good save for Pickford. And then I think about 5 minutes later, Chiesa just drives through 4 English defenders and has a shot that Pickford was stunned by. He didn't even move. And luckily it was 2 yards wide. But really, Italy should have been 1-1 going into the half. And if that was the case, I would
totally different game.
House on Italy to win in regulation.
Yeah, it was an interesting matchup. And, everyone was saying the team that was braver was going to win this match because both teams have their way to play, and it played out that way. Italy took more risks. They went forward. They had to. It's true. they were losing, so that dictated who was going to take more risks.
Yeah.
And it's almost like the early goal hurt England in the long run more than it helped
totally
them.
agree. And I never thought I'd say that, but I instantly, as soon as Luke Shaw scored, which I was super happy about because Luke Shaw shot on goal, which I took a prop plus 500. Fucking scores it. Unbelievable. But as soon as they scored it and then 10 minutes later started soaking up pressure the way they did, I was like, man, this feels a lot like that World Cup semifinal against Croatia where I think it was Kieran Trippier scores that free kick in the 8th minute. And then they just play sit back ball. And of course, Croatia levels, goes to extra time, and Mandzukic scores the winner. And it's like, it's unreal how England, because also the other thing that I think, and again, you know, I'm no manager. I've never played professionally. So who the fuck am I to say this? But you are a team that is better. You have all your squad. You know, Italy's missing arguably their best player, if not their second best, with Spinazzola. Chiesa wasn't 100% and went off early. And you get an early lead, a 1-0 lead. In my mind, for the first half at least, play like it's 0-0.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Score. Play like if it goes into halftime 2-0, then you sit back.
Yeah.
But the fact that they were like, oh, 90 seconds and we have the lead, great, let's just sit on it.
And that's way too early to do that.
I mean, that's just and they went the few times where they started to get forward, you could see there was danger there because Italy didn't know how to compare with all their speed and with the fact that they could get so many men behind, like on the ball. But I mean, just the fact that you had Chiellini at the halfway line as the only Italian back, and that never caused a problem is just like, unbelievable to me.
Their lack of pace at the back never came into play in this match.
Exactly. And Sterling, I think he had a terrible game. You know, I'm not saying, see how shitty he is. That's not what I'm saying.
No, he was invisible game.
But it's like, this is a guy who is not only so fast, but so good at holding the ball when he dribbles going forward. And it seemed like every time he did, it was going to end up either a useless ball across the box where nobody is, or it'll deflect for a corner and then they'll try and get their opportunity. You know, there was never a point where Sterling looked as dangerous as he has in past games, or where, you know, Saka did or Kane looked, you know, it really felt exactly like you said. They scored and then said, right, we're done being offensive.
That part is done, right.
And Italy was like, oh, great, cool, we'll just push forward. Like, notice how on the goal. So if you look at the tack cam of the whole pitch for the goal, there was not one Italian player within 60 yards of their own goal.
Right.
They were all pushed into the English half. And don't get me wrong, I understand.
And they were invited in. It was, but
like it's a set piece. Don't get me wrong, I understand. But it's like, if you get, I don't know, Calvin Phillips clears that ball and it's a race between Sterling and anybody else. That's a one-on-one with Donnarumma. Like, I mean, I was shocked watching the game, seeing that you might as well have subbed out all of your offensive players and just put in Jordan Henderson and fucking all of your backup defensive players. It just, and it's so sad because England, you know, was at Wembley and this great opportunity, but I'm sorry, I don't want to grandstand here and I don't want to get political about all this, but people need to fucking chill out with this racism. Like the second that game was over, those people are such scum that, first of all, use race at all because it has nothing to do with football, what race you are. But also, these players feel it way worse than you do, bro. You sitting at home in your living room tweeting about these players has not even a millionth % of the effect it has on these players to lose a game like this. So, I mean, just disgusting from the English fans. But anyway, sorry, aside from that.
Yeah, no, but that it's despicable. That shouldn't happen. It's never. I mean, you're supposed to be a supporter of your team, and that's, you know, like, you only support them when they win. Is that what you're saying? Like,
yeah, exactly.
They're your players when they score, but when they don't, they're not yours, you know, like,
which essentially means that you haven't supported your national team in 60 years.
Right. It's just, there's no place for that in the game, like you said. And really, these Twitter tough guys who are hiding behind a hashtag or behind a Twitter handle, knowing that there's no way to ever track him down. You're real brave making, ignorant comments, racist comments on social media, because they know if they said that in public, they'd get, a fist in their face with them before they were done saying, and as well they should. Before they're even done saying it, someone would have knocked their teeth out.
Sorry to bring it there, but
no,
I just
that's
some of the most disgusting stuff I've ever seen, and especially being a United fan like Rashford, deals with all this shit. So, question for you, getting back to the game, what do you think of? Because like I said, I couldn't believe the lack of attack and all that. But what do you think of the Italian setup? Because they were not using their wing backs at all. They just said, we're going to press the entire game.
Yeah, when Spinazzola went out, they did away with wingback play.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, they pressed. Like I said, I think it cost them the first goal. When you watch it back, the press only works when everybody moves in unison. If someone allows the outlet pass, you pass right through it, and then, you're pulling the ball out of the back of your own goal 30 seconds later. But I thought what happened was England there had the chance to really step on their throats a little bit.
Yeah. I mean,
and they didn't. They backed off and allowed. And if you're Italy and you got these experienced guys, these Chiellini, Bonucci's, you're quickly saying, relax, guys. We got lots of time. Look, they're backing up. They're going to let us back into this.
Yeah.
And I don't think they were ever made to panic.
No.
There were plenty of times they got the ball up there. There was no passing lanes. England had everything cut out because everybody's behind the ball. Like you said, the whole game is being played in England's half with all 20 out of the 22 players located in that half. And the passing lanes into the final third weren't there. But, when that happened, they just rotated around again, try to get them moving side to side so that those passing lanes would open. And, England defended well for an hour. Let's be honest. They did, but eventually it's a long time to play like that. And eventually they get a set piece, and, you could have even seen, it looked like Stones had a rugby tackle on Chiellini on that goal. Yeah. Had they not scored, who knows? But I don't know that he would have called the penalty kick, Bjorn Kuipers, but there definitely would have been a case there.
Well, and it's interesting as well that you say they defended well, because there was, and again, full disclosure, United fan. I hate Sterling because he's a City player, but I obviously know he's a good player. But there were a couple times where he picked up the ball and was driving down towards the Italian net, and I felt bad for him because he looks up. He's like, all right, I'm getting near the box. All right, here we go. And he was the only English player within 20 yards of the box. Everyone else was behind him. And what are you supposed to do there? He ended up, giving it away or trying to drive down, the line to cross it in, and no one was there. What do you do? Sterling had a bad game. A big part of that is because he had no one to help him. So it was like, okay, I can either take on 6 defenders or, I don't know.
And Harry Kane's already playing behind the midfielder, so he's not going to be up there. We talked about where Harry Kane spent most of the game.
And what's crazy as well is that I felt that Italy grew into the game more and more, and they got more confident. And I think in reality, they should have had more than just that one goal. But even with the goal, it's like England always looked as though they knew that they weren't going to score again. Even when they brought it forward, there's kind of this element of there was a great ball in from Luke Shaw that I think it was Mason Mount. He left it. He didn't try and backheel it. He left it thinking someone was behind him, and then turns around and looks.
There's nobody
and was
there,
oh, fuck. It was one of those weird, what a great ball in from Shaw. Your only target is Mount, and you found him, and he left it because he thought someone was behind him.
Coming in with a better angle, right?
That kind of, summed it all up for me as your one really great moment in the box. And,
absolutely.
Donnarumma didn't make a save until, the PKs. How crazy is that?
They had their one shot in the first 2 minutes, and they had no more. They had one other shot, I think. Yeah.
One shot.
Yeah.
That's insanity. And from a defender. Donnarumma's first save was in the penalty shootout.
Yep.
That. You can't.
Absolutely.
With that kind of play, if you're, no offense to them, but if you're the Czechs, if you're Slovakia, if you're, Switzerland or something, I can get that because you get a goal and you're like, oh shit, we need to protect this. We can't press. We can't afford to give them a cheap goal.
Right.
England is not of that ilk. They are so much higher. There's such a step up in class from almost everyone in this tournament. You know, like, I mean, talent wise, I might say France is better, maybe. But in terms of talent and chemistry, no one is better than England. And they didn't show a lick of that when it comes to their offensive mindset. And I think that comes 100% down to Southgate, as I've said a million times on this podcast. And it's, you know, like we said, you said it best. He was batting 1,000 until today. And today he tried to be a manager, and look what happened.
Yeah, and I think he outmanaged himself.
Oh, yeah, all of his subs backfired, and his lineup, his
even
tactical lineup,
pulling Trippier off when he did, and that changed the formation that was working. and you know,
Trippier's a fantastic penalty. Like, it's just
another exactly.
And you bring on Henderson late, obviously
to take him out again.
But he is one of the worst penalty takers in the history of the game. Like, I think he's taken something like, 25 penalties and missed 15, like missed 10 of them. It's just like that. I mean, anyway, I got to go. I apologize.
I know you do.
Thank you so much for having me on, but what a game. Congratulations to Italy. And please, if you're an England fan, please support your players, because they are getting so much hate and fucking scumbags, These players got you to the final, and you haven't been there for 60 years. Show a little bit of appreciation.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for joining me this past month, by the way. Before you go, I do have to thank you. It has been a pleasure. And
I would do it anytime. Are you doing my life a lot easier?
Maybe when the quarterfinals start.
Okay.
This
Count
group
me in.
stage is all right. I will definitely, because this group stage doesn't really appeal to me very much.
USA by 5 today.
Yeah, they just scored. I just got an alert. So the USA, I think the USA just scored.
1-0 or 2-0?
It won right now.
Okay.
But I'll definitely be in touch. We can talk Gold Cup, and obviously, and when the season starts, I'd love to have you on to talk Premier League, Bundesliga, Euro Leagues, things like that. All right.
Sounds like a plan, player.
Thank you so much. And all right. Have a good night. All right. So I am still here, and we're going to talk a little bit more about Italy now, because I let him talk about England. So when we look at Italy, okay, here's Italy's lineup. Okay, they played in a straight up 4-3-3. Donnarumma in goal, Di Lorenzo, Bonucci, Chiellini, and Emerson on the back four. All right, Emerson had himself a much better game today than he had in the semifinals. But like I said, I think Italy went away from wingback play once Emerson came on. Di Lorenzo had somewhat of a hand in England's goal. He was shifting right, and much like Nelson Semedo for Portugal, who gets a lot of bad rap for that Germany game, much of the same. He slid central, and he picked up Harry Kane instead of picking up the late arriving Luke Shaw, who came in untouched and scored the goal. And I said this when we were watching it live at my in-laws' house, my Italian in-laws. I said it was very, very well executed play with a very intentional plan to move the entire Italian team to the far side of the pitch, switching it right. Okay, Trippier, world class at delivering balls. Everybody knows that. Okay, again, best 11 in La Liga, but Gareth Southgate doesn't see him as one of his automatic 11s. If I'm managing England, Trippier is in the team, and he stays on the pitch until he's no longer fit to play. That's where I would have Trippier. I'm sorry, he brings too much quality. And I don't want to hear people say that he doesn't bring quality. Okay, one, he's a better one-on-one defender than any of the other outside backs on England. And two, he delivers a much better ball, okay, going forward. And he can take penalty kicks, like we just heard F.A. My Plays say. He can take penalty kicks. Okay, he's the best 11 in La Liga, champion in La Liga with Atletico Madrid. So, again, he delivers a great ball to the back post. Luke Shaw is unmarked because the entire team shifted right, and he knew exactly where he was going. He was going to that back post, which was going to be left open because Barella did not pick him up because Barella was out of position to begin with on the original press. So Italy's press broke down in that goal. It was early, and they made a big mistake because Chiesa stepped high. Barella did not slide into the passing lane, so he allowed Luke Shaw to find Harry Kane, and Luke Shaw took off. The play was on at that point. Once Harry Kane was allowed to turn, he switched it to Kieran Trippier. Trippier took a couple steps, played it across the, diagonally across the penalty area to the far post where Luke Shaw arrived, and he put it in the only place he could. So I didn't really like that from Italy as far as their backline play in the early stages, but they figured it out. The three in midfield, Jorginho, again, another big performance from him. Marco Verratti to his left and Nicolo Barella to his right. Up front, Ciro Immobile, another disappointing performance for Ciro the hero. But again, he can do so much without the ball as well. So he does provide something, just much like Harry Kane. Ciro Immobile not getting opportunities in the penalty area. I am sure right now tonight he couldn't care less. Okay, he's got that gold medal around his neck. He's kissed the cup. He could care less. But I think he had a frustrating tournament all in all. Ciro Immobile did. And then Lorenzo Insigne and Federico Chiesa. Chiesa was once again quite good. I think he has got just sky's the limit for this kid. I can see him doing big things and going places. I think he's got a brilliant career in front of him. I can't wait to watch him grow and develop in the next 10 years, the next decade or so. As I get old and gray, he'll be coming into his prime. Insigne had a tough match. Okay, I thought Insigne was very much canceled out by the wingback play of Kieran Trippier. Kieran Trippier came in. He played on that side. Like I said, he's a much better 1v1 defender than is Kyle Walker. I'm sorry. Kyle Walker, I like much better as a right center back than I do as a right wing back. Okay. I think he plays much better tucked in. And he's got a lot of pace, which allows him to be even more important in the center three because he recovers better than anyone else. Okay. And John Stones and Harry Maguire are not, they're very good central defenders as well. But we've seen time after time the way that Kyle Walker can recover when the ball gets in behind. I like him much better. I actually, Fade My Plays was surprised to see this lineup. I actually like this lineup better for England. I just think the problem with England was they scored early and they went to the next phase of their plan, which was to sit back. I thought the first thing that Gareth Southgate should have said was he should have gone like this, 0-0. Way too early to change the way you play. Way too early to change your methodology. Way too early to just sit back. 88 minutes is way too much time to just invite pressure forward and try to soak it all in and wait for a counter. They could have had Italy on the ropes. They landed the first punch. If this is a boxing match, okay, I like to use the analogies with boxing or MMA. Okay, England delivered the first strike that really stunned Italy. And when you watch boxing, when a shot, stuns them, they're kind of like, wobbly a little bit, and you have a chance to go in for the knockdown. The problem was this was the equivalent of England landing an overhand right hook, stunning Italy, and then backing off and letting them recover, because that's what they did in this match. Whether or not that was the plan, that's a different story. But that's, in the end, what they did. That was what happened. They gave away this match, in my opinion. They allowed Italy too much of the ball, okay? And I'm all for sitting in deep. I'm all for it. But Italy wants the ball. They're a team that wants the ball. They're a team that's very good with the ball. They're a team that find the spaces. They find the dangerous vertical passes eventually. Okay, and England didn't even defend poorly. I thought they defended fairly well. Problem was, it was just too much time to defend. Okay, again, Insigne, I thought had a hard time dealing because on his side, Trippier was there. We did see him slide central, and he's a very good player in that true number 10 role when he wants to slide in there, when he's not getting the service. The problem is for Insigne is that Spinazzola was injured, okay? When Spinazzola is there, Insigne can start his run way out wide, come inside, and leave that channel in behind him for Spinazzola. Spinazzola's not there. Emerson's not the same kind of player. He's going to come up here and there, but he is not going to be able to do it the way Spinazzola can. But hey, hats off to Italy for dealing with that injury. It would have derailed other teams, okay? And the Azzurri came out and they adjusted. They changed a little bit about the way they play, but they did not change who they are. And that's why in the end, they lifted the trophy, okay? I am Happy with this result. Don't get me wrong. Okay, I am happy. If Portugal couldn't win this competition, which this time they couldn't, I am happy that it was Italy to lift the trophy. I'm happy that the trophy stays in the Latin countries. Okay, it has been a dominance of Latin countries since the year 2000. Like I said, in this competition, yeah, Bonucci gets the tying goal off a set piece, right? And like I said, there was enough there to even call a penalty on Stones for bringing down Chiellini, in my opinion. I'm not saying that Bjorn Kuipers, the referee, would have called that, but from what I could see, it looked that way to me. Okay. In the end, the match goes to extra time. And again, I think that Gareth Southgate made a huge mistake when he took off Kieran Trippier. And at this level, if you're going to be a manager, you have to take the criticism, and you're going to be picked apart even if it's just one match. Okay? I do this with my own manager, okay? I think I'm very fair at evaluating the managers, and I don't bring the past match into the current match, and I'm not looking at the next one. I'm assessing what I saw today from Gareth Southgate. I don't care what happened in the past, okay? Every substitution was wrong today. Saka comes on, that's fine, but not in place of Trippier. Why did he change that? You're going to suddenly be, I know why, because they were sitting back too far, and the only way he could come up with to move his team out of their end and start to play some attack-minded football is to make the team more defensive by going into a 4-4-2 or a 4-2-3-1, or whatever it was that they went into. Yeah, 4-2-3-1. Rather than maybe even, dare I say, taking one of the double pivot out, if you're going to do that, okay? Moving Trippier further up the pitch. You take out one of the double pivot. You take out Phillips or Rice, and you slide in Saka now, okay? And may I even say, you take out Raheem Sterling, who did nothing today. He was a great candidate to come out. People are saying that Gareth Southgate was brave and that he was bold. No, he was not. He never took out Sterling when the match was not decided. He never took out Kane. Okay. He took out Kane in the first match, and that's it, to put Marcus Rashford there. He did not change, he did not take out the key players who are not performing. He did take out Mason Mount in this one. Okay. And he brought on Jack Grealish, and I was nervous at that point. Jack Grealish puts some fear in me, and I think he put some fear in the Italian team when he came on. But again, he is a player that could play as a number 10, but he's stuck out on the left, trying to cut in. England do too much of this. They do too much of the inverted winger, in my opinion. Way too much. They're not even looking to take the ball wide ever. So they're not keeping the defense honest. And I think Italy just showed a patience that comes with the experience that they have, or that the key people in this team have, because this is not an old Italian team either. You take out the back four, and they're pretty young. What a job by Roberto Mancini in this past 2.5 years since he took over, to take this team from a team that failed to qualify for the World Cup 2018, put them in the final of Euro 2020, and win the tournament against England in England. And for the second tournament in a row, the host loses the final. That's something. That is a statistic for you. Second Euro in a row, the home side loses the final. The real home side, not the one on paper, because Italy was technically at home on paper. I mean, the team actually playing in their home country. Okay? They repeated what happened to France now 5 years ago in Euro 2016. So, again, the match went to extra time. And I don't know where the English pundits are saying that they dominated extra time. That extra time was meh. Each team had a chance here or there, but there was almost no shots on goal. I mean, England played 120 minutes with one shot on goal, the one they scored. You cannot sit here and call yourself hard done. And one of my pet peeves is when people just say that, oh, the penalty shootout is a coin flip. It's a coin. No, that's just what teams that lose them all the time say to make themselves feel better about it. There is a science to a penalty shootout. Italy was the first team in this competition to win 2 penalty shootouts in this competition. England had every advantage. They knew where the Italian players shot in the semifinals. Jordan Pickford made 2 saves today, and credit to him, he did what he had to do. If your goalkeeper makes 2 saves in a shootout, you should win it. There's no reason to miss 3, okay? But they missed 3 for different reasons. Part of it is 2 of those players were cold as ice. They just come onto the pitch, and then they're put on to shoot in the highest pressure situation without really any touches on the ball. That's asking way too much, in my opinion. And then you have your big name, Sterling, who didn't even take a shot. Where was Sterling in the penalty shootout? Or was he subbed off? I don't believe he was subbed off, but I'm going to double check that before I bash him here. Walker came off. Henderson came off. Those were the 2 that came off. Yeah, so Mason Mount came off. So, yes, Sterling was there. Declan Rice and Kieran Trippier were the players who came off. Raheem Sterling, if you're a star, and I'm calling you a fraud tonight, not a star. Because you know what? Aside from going down easily and getting a penalty in that semifinal, you've done very little since the quarterfinals or since the round of 16. I'm not counting the game with the Ukraine. Ukraine was dead in that match. In these key big money matches, Raheem Sterling was nowhere to be found. Nowhere to be found. When you take away his cut into his right foot, or you take away his ability to make his run into the face of the goal for the tap-ins, he does not bring much else. He's got pace and a decent right foot. That's why he's not world class. That's why he's top level, but he is not. That's why his future is not going to be at Real Madrid or Barcelona or at, it's not going to be a big money move away from Manchester City. I think he's hit his ceiling as a player. And really disappointing that he doesn't even step up and take a penalty. I'm sorry. I'm going to call that out. You want to be the star? You want to make a case for being the player of the tournament, which I hear the British media saying after each match? Then you step up and you take a penalty. You don't force a 19-year-old to take the final penalty, and you don't force a teenager to go home with that on his shoulders, that he missed the last penalty and that his team lost because a couple of teenagers and an also young Marcus Rashford, who was cold, missed their penalty kicks. Yeah, I'm putting that on Raheem Sterling. No question about it. But anyway, going back to Italy, I think Jorginho had a good game, but he screwed up that penalty shot. He's about to take it, and I'm saying to my father-in-law, I go, Pickford is waiting for the hop. He knows where he's going to go once he hops. I go, if I were Jorginho, there'd be no hop in this one. I would just run up there and put it in a corner. Pickford wouldn't have even reacted because he was expecting the normal approach. That's what he was expecting. He should have changed it up. He probably would have scored it, and they would have won on a converted kick versus waiting for Donnarumma to make yet another save. But Donnarumma, does he not make that goal look so small? I mean, England missed 3 penalty kicks. Okay, he saved 2 of them. The other one, he just didn't bite on Marcus Rashford's bait. Rashford took the slow approach, waiting, hoping that Donnarumma would commit to one side. He never did. Forced them to sort of force the shot, if you will. I think he hit it harder than he wanted to. He obviously opened his hips too much out to his left, and he hit the post. And from there, I think England knew the writing was on the wall. See, they even took the lead in this one, okay? And again, I know we're coming up closely on an hour here, but I felt, and I said before the match, that England were not going to be able to rise to the occasion in a shootout. It's too much in their DNA. I don't care what these players say that they don't know what happened 20 years ago. They know England go out in a shootout all the time. You see David Beckham's face? It was like deja vu for him watching England lose yet another shootout. Yeah, they won one in World Cup 2018 against Colombia in the round of 16, but in a final, they still knew they had demons to exercise, and they did not do that. And that comes down to Gareth Southgate and his selection, in my opinion. Okay. If he wanted these guys to shoot, and I think that the fact that they shot is fine. They needed to come in at the start of the second extra time, at least get 10, 15 minutes of solid running, solid touches in, rather than just stepping up and putting your first touch from the spot with all the pressure of the world on you. That's a coaching That's a coaching miscalculation, mismanagement, in my opinion. And I think England paid the ultimate price for their manager. I'm sorry. Yes, they got to the final, but I think they got to the final in spite of him. And today they lost because of him. In my own honest opinion, I could be 100% wrong. I'm not saying I would go there and do any better, but I mean, you heard of Fade My Play. He follows England. He follows English football. This is such a talented team, and they're let down. Their talent didn't show. One, because they played a system and a style that didn't suit what they have. And I think Southgate, going forward towards World Cup 2022, has to have a serious look at how he's playing, because I don't think he's going to win a World Cup this way either. And he may not get lucky enough to advance. You're not always going to draw the Czech Republic. You're not always going to draw the Ukraine. Okay? You're not always going to get a Denmark in the semifinals. You're going to face some sharks at some point. Had England been in the other side of the bracket, they may not even have gotten to the final. Look at the teams Italy went through. They went through Belgium. Okay, they went through Spain. They had a tough time with Austria, but they also could have easily played Portugal. They could have played France, because those teams were also on their side of the bracket. But in the end, it's the Italians that come through. Bravo. Fratelli d'Italia. Bravo. They played well, and I thought they were the better team today. I think they were the more complete, the more unified team. I think England has better pieces. Italy has a better collective. At the end of the day, they are more than the sum of their parts, where England are not there yet. That doesn't mean they won't be there, but they're not there yet. Okay. Everybody, thank you for this past month. It has been an absolute pleasure to come to you every night that there have been matches with this podcast. I have enjoyed every minute. Like I said, I got to thank Fade My Plays. Thank at James Makes Picks. Thank at DGens United, especially. Those three guys really made this possible for me. This, for me, everybody, was a dream come true. I literally got to play sportscaster, got to play football pundit, and cover a international tournament from start to finish, albeit from my own house, or in this case, from my parents' house. But I got to do that, and you guys tuned in every night, and you guys downloaded the podcast, and you interacted with me on Twitter and everything else. I got to thank everybody for the support. This has been an absolute blast, an absolute dream come true. And I hope to do something very similar for World Cup 2022. I don't know yet what it's going to be, because, well, it falls in the middle of my busiest time of the year. It's going to fall during the month of December in 2022, where I work about 100 hours a week. So I don't know what it's going to look like, but I'll come up with something. Again, please click the subscribe button below if you're watching on YouTube. Subscribe, hit the little bell so you get alerted. Okay, follow us on social media. My handle is right there. You see it if you're watching. If you're listening, my handle is at PTB_media. Please follow it on Instagram and on Twitter. And don't forget, there are more episodes coming up. I do have a Copa America review coming. Yes, Messi has won an international trophy. I was a little shocked by Brazil's lack of just efficiency and lack of being up for the big match last night. I'll talk about it in detail in the next episode. I'm not going to throw it on the end of this. I'm going to make a special podcast episode for that, and then I'll release it on the feed. Not sure yet about using video, but I will definitely get that out there in the next couple days. And then we've got Copa Libertadores resuming this week. So I thought I was going to take a little vacation here from podcasting. No can do, for two reasons. There is Copa Libertadores starting Tuesday, so next Friday night, okay, around 8:30 p.m. Eastern time, I'll be back right where you're watching right now to break down the first leg of the round of 16 in the Copa Libertadores and the Copa Sudamericana. Okay, we'll look at some results. Plus, I'm going to have to do a Mr. Benfica episode this week, because just when I thought I could take a little break because they're just at the start of preseason, Benfica's president goes and gets arrested. That is right. The president has been arrested. He is under house arrest with a 3 million euro bail set, the second largest bail of all time in the country of Portugal. So I'm going to have to give my 2 cents on that. And I still got to close out season 3 of Mr. Benfica by breaking down the women's team's championship run. So that's coming to you this week as well. One of these days this week, sometime before the weekend, I will have that for you. Okay. Thank you again for joining me. Thank you to everyone who was listening. Thank you to everyone who followed on the social media. And like I said, I look forward to doing this again. But Parking the Bus continues, okay? Going back to our regular format, regular episodes very soon this week, all right? And for everybody here at the PTB Media Network, thank you once again. I am the Mr. Mike Agostinho, and I am going to be signing off here. And before I do, I have a special thank you here to the guys that made this possible. So I'm sending you guys away with that. For those of you watching the video, for those of you listening on the podcast, all it's going to say is special thank you to at Fade My Play, at James Makes Picks, and at DGens United for their time and contribution to this Euro 2020 project. It's been the project of a lifetime. I have honestly enjoyed it, sincerely enjoyed being here every night talking footy. And I've really enjoyed all the positive feedback. I've enjoyed the following. I mean, we had some nights where we had several hundred people watching. That's blows my mind. So thank you, everybody. And I'll see you next time here on Parking the Bus.